Hello everyone. So in this session, I'm going to discuss locators in more detail. So last session, we have already discussed what is a locators, and we have seen different types of locator like ID locator, name locator, CSS locator. If you want to locate an element using their ID, you can locate an element using ID. Name locator. So we have seen several locators and we have discussed ID locators. But now today, first of all, I am going to discuss one more locator that is a very important locator, XPath locator. So let's understand what the XPath locator and why XPath locator is very important. Actually, sometimes what may be happen, your page maybe contains one complex HTML elements and we are not able to locate an element using their given locator, ID, name, CSS locators, and several locators. So using XPath, we can locate any element, any type of element. So XPath actually basically helps to locate simpler and complex elements. So what is a XPath? XPath is the language used when locating nodes. XML nodes. Actually, when we load an HTML page in the browser will create one DOM structure for that page. In this DOM tree hierarchy structure, each element, each HTML element act as like a node. We can call as a node, just like. So suppose we have this element inside this element, so one hierarchy structure will be created once page is loaded. So XPath can access almost all the elements, even those which does not have class ID and name attribute. So it means XPath helps to locate at most all the elements, even those elements we can also locate using XPath which does not have class ID and name attribute. So how we can use XPath to locate an element? So suppose you have this web page and in this web page, which element you want to locate, right click on that web element, then you can select inspect. Once you click on inspect, and here you can check here once you selecting this text and there is option copy, here you can check here you can also copy the XPath directly. But how we can write XPath, yes, no, to locate an element. So XPath basically used to write an expression by which we can locate any element. So XPath are two types, absolute XPath and relative XPath. Okay, let's understand absolute path. Suppose we want to locate this element. If you want to locate this element, so you need to start to traversing from root node. So in this tree hierarchy structure, which one is the root node? This. So first of all, you need to start traversing from root node to, you need to traverse till that node you want to search. So first of all, you need to go root node dot this node dot this node. Then you can reach to that element. So suppose this is a simple hierarchy structure and you can have very large and complex hierarchy structure if you want to find any element using XPath, absolute XPath. So in case of absolute XPath, you need to write a path from the root node to till that node that you want to locate. So just like here, you can check that this is a suppose HTML is the root element. Under HTML, we have body section, body element. Under body, we have several div. We are selecting which child div element, div 2. Under div, we have one more div. Under div, we have one more div, child element, and we have one footer element. Now, under footer, we have section. Third element, under section, we have div. Under div, we have UL. Under UL, you have third li. Under third li, we have anchor tag that we want to select. So suppose guys, when you create any element, just like suppose I've created one paragraph element in an HTML, yes, no, simple I'm some understanding. This is a paragraph element. Inside this element, you can create another element also. Suppose inside this element, we have created anchor element. So we can call anchor is the nested to paragraph element. So anchor we can call as a child element of paragraph, and paragraph we can call as a parent element. Because anchor is inside nested paragraph element, so we can call anchor as a child element and paragraph we can call as a parent element. So in case of absolute XPath, you can check here each of those nested elements, those nested relationships will need to present 100% of the time. A locator will not function. So absolute path basically used to write expression to locate any element from root node to till that node you need to traverse that node you want to search. An absolute path start with single forward slash. Now we have another way, relative XPath. Actually, relative XPath is one where path start from node of your choice. It means which node you want to search, which node you want to locate. You have not need to start to traversing from root node to till that node that you want to search. In case of relative XPath, you can start path from the node of your choice. From where you want to start, you can start from that. Very simple, we can understand. Suppose we have three places. We have suppose A place and B place, and suppose we have one more place, C place. Now we have one more place, D place. Suppose we want to traverse from A to D. So suppose I want to go from A to D. So first of all, one is the approach. You can go from A to B, from B to C, then C to D. Then you can reach to D. One more approach, suppose you can start traversing directly from which node? C node. And from C, you can directly traverse to which location? D location. That is a relative XPath. Relative XPath, you can start from the node of your choice. But in case of absolute path, you need to start from the root node till that node that you want to search. So relative path does not, it doesn't need to start from the root node. Relative XPath doesn't need to start from the root node. So it is always better to choose relative XPath. It helps us to reduce the chance of the element not found exception. And second thing, relative XPath start double forward slash. Relative XPath start double forward slash. So XPath basically used to help to write an expression by which we can locate an element. How we can write XPath? So let's understand if you want to write any XPath, how we can write. If you want to write any XPath, so relative XPath, you can choose relative XPath because relative path XPath you can start from the node of your choice. It does not need to start from the root node. And relative XPath you can start from double forward slash, and then after that you can write tag name, and then after tag name you can specify the square bracket. Within a square bracket, just like we can say, you can specify predicates. Predicates means conditions. So actually, which element you want to find based on any condition, suppose you can specify here conditions. So suppose I want to find an element using any attribute, yes, no, whose attribute value is matching the corresponding value. So you can write specify which attribute name equal to its value. Suppose I give the value, whatever value you have given. So if you want to find an element using XPath, very simple syntax. How you can write? First of all, you can write double forward slash because relative XPath start from double forward slash and then tag name and then square bracket and then you can specify attribute. Yes, no? So within a square bracket, in simple term, we can say we can write a predicate. Predicate basically used to specify conditions. So you can specify condition. What mean of this line? It means we want to find which element, whatever tag name we have mentioned. We want to find this element whose attribute value is matches to the given value. Let's understand with an example, then we can understand more better. Okay, go to the browser, open the Google Chrome. In the Google Chrome, you can check here, guys. I have opened one page, Swag Labs. Let's suppose I want to find this username using XPath. Which field, which element we want to find out? We want to find out username. How we can find out any element using XPath in Google Chrome? So which element you want to find out, on that element, you can just right click and you can search. Here you can click on inspect and you can click on inspect, and after that you can check here in the right hand side, you can check it that element will be highlighted with blue color. It means we want to search this element, and then you can press Control F key. Once you press the Control F, here you can check here, you can read here. Here you can write just no XPath for selecting an element. Here you can check here. Here it will, once you press Control F, it will open here one text bar where you can write XPath for selecting an element. So let's we try to write XPath. Which type element we want to locate here? I want to find out, you can say this is a which type element, what is the tag name? Input. So slash slash input. If you're writing slash slash input just, so it means it will locate how many elements, you can check here. How many elements you can, there are 3 type input elements. So it will locate all input element in your web page. But my requirement, I want to find only username. So after that, you can put a square bracket, and within a square bracket, you can write a predicate. Predicate basically specify conditions. So we want to find this element by using their attribute, like suppose attribute name, suppose ID attribute. So which having ID attribute values as a username. So within a square bracket, you can write @ and then attribute. You want to check which attribute value, you can write that attribute name and then equal, and within and then single quote, you can write its value. What the value? User hyphen name. Now you can check here. How many element is selecting? You can check this element is also highlighted. Now you can check one element is selected. So it means we need to select that element whose tag name is the input and which having ID attribute value as a username. So this is a way to write a XPath to find an element. So first approach, so we can use XPath to locate an element using relative XPath. Okay, so here this is a common syntax. What the syntax? Whenever you want to write an XPath, very simple syntax. XPath start with // tag name, and then after tag name you can specify square bracket, and within a square bracket you can specify predicates. Predicates generally represent the conditions. What condition you want to specify? Suppose I want to select that element by using their attribute, any attribute value. So you can specify attribute, attribute name, you can specify attribute name equal to, and now within a single quote, you can specify their value. So you can use any one of their attributes. So this is a one way approach. Okay. In the XPath, you can check here, guys. In the XPath, you can use several methods also. Like we have one contains method. So let's understand we can use contains method in XPath. While you writing the XPath, in XPath, you can use method also. Let's understand. What does contains method? Actually, it is a method that we can use in XPath expression when the value of any attribute changes dynamically. So it can locate a web element with the available partial text. What meaning of this line? Let's understand. What meaning of this line? Suppose, guys, we have created here one order list. Suppose we have created an order list. We have created one order list. In this order list, suppose we have created li tag, and now li tag. Now we have created li tag, and now I give some ID like just like yes no. ID 1, yes no. I give the ID 1. You have text A. Let's understand. Now, okay, sorry, let's we erase it and write once again. So let's we have UL tag, and now with an UL tag, now we close this UL tag. Within a UL tag, suppose we have li tag, and this li tag we are using one ID attribute. I give the ID value as a ID1, and now we have give the text value as a. Let's we copy this, and now we have create one more li tag. Now we have create one more li tag. So here you can check here, suppose we change the ID of second li element is ID2 and ID3 and ID4 and ID5. And now let's ID6. Now the text value have changed like B, and now C, and now we have D, and now we have E, now we have F. Let's understand. That's my requirement. We want to find all the element whose ID attribute contains partial text like ID. Okay, what is the partial text and full text? Suppose if you want to find any which element, li element, I'm writing xpath / li, and then a square bracket, with a square bracket we can write conditions, predicates. So I want to find that li element whose ID attribute value at the rate ID equal to ID1. So which element it will find? It will find one li element, first one. But now my requirement, we want to find all those li elements whose ID attribute contain partial text like an as a ID. Suppose we have created one more yes no element. I have give ID something ABC. So partial text means, let's understand partial text. This means when we are checking the partial text, suppose your ID is ID1. Your ID1 attributes value contain ID also. So we can check any text, any character, any substring that is called as a partial text. This means we are not matching exact match. Some part of the string is matches, that is called as a partial text. So if you want to search element by using their partial text, then you can use contains method. How we can use? You can check a //li, and we need to find which element, all li element whose ID attribute contain partial text value as a ID. So here within a square bracket, you can specify predicates. In the predicates, we are using contains method. In the contains method, first parameter we specify the attribute name. What is the attribute? ID, comma, and what the ID value? What partial value we want to check? Suppose I want to check partial value as a ID. So it means how many li is selected? It will select 6 li elements, because all this li ID attribute having partial text value li as an ID. So this last element will be not selected. How many elements it will select? It will select 6 elements. So we can select yes or no. If you want to select any element, yes or no, by using their partial text, then you can use contains method. Contains method will be helpful in this scenario. Let's check here, guys. Go to the Google Chrome and you can open the browser. Suppose I want to select which element, let's understand. Here we can check here, we have these are input element. All the input element you can open. Okay. So suppose I want to select all those input element, yes, no, and then a square bracket, and within a square bracket, I'm writing contains method. What are writing? Contains method. And I want to check which attribute, first parameter at the right type attribute. Let's at the right type attribute, what contain at the right type attribute, if contain as a partial text like text. And then close the square bracket. So there is no element here, so that's why it's not selected. Okay, you can click here any one element. Suppose if you click in the button element, let's say, yeah, we can click here, you can check it. So you can check a login credential, login credential, login. I want to check the partial text like just like a login. So what you can write, /, which element, div element I want to select. Okay, you can check here once again, which type element, which attribute it contain, class attribute. and now div attribute and a square bracket within a square bracket, and here we can use contains method. Contains method. Now first parameter contains method will take attribute name at the rate attribute name. What the attribute name? Class. And now what is the second argument? What is the value? Value, suppose I specify like login. Now you can check here. You can check here how many element is selecting. Now there is a you can check here. This element is selecting. There are two element is selecting. Now there are two element is selected. So this is a way, yes, no? You can use contains method in XPath expression. Now let's understand next. So in XPath, you can check here, you can use contains method. And now in XPath, while you're writing the XPath, you write a condition if you want to combine more than one condition. Let's understand, guys. So while you're writing the XPath to find out any element, so how we writing XPath? Slash, double slash, tag name, and then a square bracket. Within a square bracket, you are specify predicate. So sometimes we need to specify more than one condition. So we need to combine those conditions. Suppose we have specified condition 1, predicate 1, and I want to combine more than one condition. So you can use here and R. So and now we can combine another condition. So if you want to combine more than one condition, more than one predicate, then you can combine using and or. And or, what does actually, when you're combining more than one condition using and, in case of and, when both conditions are matched, then it will find out that element. In case of or, when you're combining condition using or, it means one of them condition is matched, then it will find that element. So in this case of our expression, we use two conditions. So it means here either first condition or second condition should be true. It is applied to when condition is true or both are true. It means at least one condition should be true to find a web element. So suppose here we are writing the expression, you can check here. I want to find which element, input element, whose type attribute submit or name attribute equal to btn submit. So let's I will show in Google Chrome also. Suppose we have this button element. Now we click here, and now you can check it. So what the input type equal to button, and now name is equal to login button. So suppose I want to find that button element. So how we can write XPath slash slash which element we want to find? Input element, and whose type attribute value at the rate type, you can at the rate type attribute value equal to submit. If you want to combine, yes, more than one condition, so you can use just like R here, whose type attribute submit, and now name attribute equal to at the rate name attribute value equal to login hyphen button. It means here we can find that input element which either having type attribute value submit or name attribute having login button. When you're combining more than one condition using R, it means at least one condition should be true, then it will find that element. Okay, you can combine condition using R and R using AND. When you're combining using AND, it means both conditions should be matched. Then only it will find that element. Otherwise, it will not find that element. So you can use AND and R. So in case of AND expression, we have two conditions, and here both conditions should be true to locate a web element. It will fail to locate an element if any one of the condition are false. If any one of the condition are false, it will fail to locate an element. Now we have one more function, start with function. So you can use start with function to locate an element. So start with function, this function used to find web element whose value of attribute changes on the refresh, a dynamic operation on the web page. So start with a method will check corresponding attribute value start with the given value or not. Then you can use start with function. Okay, let's understand how we can use. Suppose I want to find any element, input element I want to find. Okay, let's understand for syntax. You can specify the tag name, which element you want to find, and then you can use within a square bracket predicates. Now, in the predicates, you understand you can use either method or you can write conditions. So suppose we have already used contains method. Contains method used to find an element by checking their partially value in an attribute. And now you can use start with function also. Starts with function. Start with. So now here you can specify at the rate attribute, and now you can second at comma value you can specify as a value. So it means find that the element whose attribute start with the given value, whose given attribute value start with specify value, it will find that element. Okay, let's understand how we can use start with function also in a XPath. So you can use start with function in XPath also. Let's now we want to locate which element. Suppose I want to locate which element. Suppose I want to locate this element in this page. Suppose I want to locate which element, which class attribute. Okay, here we have want to start login password. Okay, so which element we want to locate? Suppose slash slash div element I want to locate, and now I'm using starts with function within a square bracket. Okay, which attribute value we want to check? Class attribute. So you can write at the rate class attribute, which class attribute start with given value. What the given value? Login. Okay, check here. Control F. Yes, no. Yeah, this is here you can write XPath. Yes, no. Find element. So double slash. I want to find which element? Div element. And now we are using starts hyphen with function. Now close the bracket. And which attribute? At the rate class attribute value start with login. Now you can check. It will find all those elements whose class attribute value start with login. Now you can check it. So it will start all those div elements whose class attribute started with login. So this is a start with function. If you want to identify, you want to find an element whose attribute value start with given value, then you can use start with function. So in the XPath, you can use several methods like contains method, start with method, and you can use, guys, one more method that is you can check here, text method. Okay, what is the text method? Let's understand. Let's understand what the text method. Suppose, guys, I want to find an element using their text value. You can check it. This is swag lab. What the text value? Swag labs. Suppose my requirement, I want to find that div element. So I'm writing slash slash div. And now, which contain text as a swag lab. So here we can use text function. Text function what return? It return a text. It used to check a text. Text equal now equal. What is the text value? Text value is a swag lab. SWAG swag labs. Now you can check it. Now it will select which element? Now it will selecting that element whose text value is swag labs. Now which one element is selecting? This one. You can check it's selecting that one. So you can use text function. If you want to select an element by using their text value, then in the XPath, you can use text function. So in the XPath, using XPath, we can find out, we can locate any element, yes or no, either simple element or complex element. Using XPath, we can find out almost every element. So how we can write XPath? Very simple, double slash. We can use relative XPath. Relative XPath starts with double forward slash and then tag name. And then after tag name, you can remember, you can follow the square bracket. The square brackets, within a square bracket, you can specify predicates. So I hope it's clear what is a predicate. Predicate specify condition. So predicates simply we can call a condition that are written within a square bracket. So predicate basically are used to restricted a selected set of nodes or to subset based on the given condition. Based on the given condition. Let's check here, guys. Here you can check here. Suppose you're writing, yes, no, slash slash title. It means, and then you square bracket. Within a square bracket, you're writing at the rate asterisk symbol. So at the rate asterisk, this is a wildcard expression. So this wildcard expression, what indicating? It indicating it select all the title element which have at least one attribute of any kind. It means select all the title element, yes, no, which can have at least one attribute any kind of type. Suppose you're writing slash bookstore, yes, no. Suppose you're writing this slash slash title, and then with this square bracket you're writing at the rate lang. What meaning of this line? This line means select all the title element that have attribute with name lang. Whatever it has value, it doesn't matter. So it means we are selecting all those title elements which have attribute named lang, which having the name lang attribute, select all those title elements. So you can use yes no XPath, yes no. So first you're writing slash slash, and then you're writing, you can check here element name, and then within a square bracket you can specify predicate. I hope it's clear what is a predicate in a XPath. Thank you.